This follow-up video from tonight's post-workout. This is a post-workout live. Excuse me. Just had dinner. And have some quick dialogue real quick before I turn it in for the night. You know, I have to start the conversation even before, people arrive in the chat. And, uh, you know, uh, I definitely, look forward to answering questions and communicating with the chat. During the workout, it's difficult in terms of staying focused on the work and not letting time take up, the workout. You, in, Instead of allowing the dialogue to take more time up with the work. When it comes to the working out, we know that it's very much the main focus. You feel what I'm saying? When it comes to that working out. So, of course, when the camera's on, whatever dialogue that could be, you know, exchanged in between, you know what I'm saying? It could be a part of the live, but the work at hand really requires, the main focus, you know what I'm saying? So I decided to come back live tonight. And whatever you don't catch now while I'm here in person, you know what I'm saying, you can catch the playback. And so from a couple of other questions that were presented to me a few minutes ago, um, again, this is just a post workout live to where I'm able to, give my full attention, to the chat, to the community, to the fam and all that, you know what I'm saying? So, but I just want to speak about tonight's live. And again, a few of the questions that I was able to catch and able to remember. One of them was, how much do I weigh? And so I weigh about 170. 170. I've been maintaining that weight for about 2 years now. And, big salute to myself. Me, at one time being over 200 pounds, at least carrying 205 easy. Those who are not in the know from those times of which I was heavier, you know what I'm saying? I'm letting you know now. Big shout out to the new addition to the community, the fam, the new subscribers and supporters and those who, are definitely now in tune. So, just letting those know again who aren't in the know of, me being at a heavier weight. And, when you think about it, 200 pounds to 170, you know what I'm saying? That's a 30-pound difference. So I've been able to keep off 30 pounds for 2 years. So I guess I'll start from there in terms of staying fit and staying the course, and just, keeping that high level of commitment, you know what I'm saying, to oneself, you know, your goals, your way of life, however way you want to describe it or define it, or, you know, you know, represent it within your, within the actual uh, results. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, and that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm super duper serious. You know, with keeping that 30 pounds off. You know, and I feel better. I feel much better. You know, and of course, my body looks better. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Compared to, speaking of weight and my physique, right? I um I took a look at some earlier photos of myself, or whatever the case, or just knowing, you know, I feel like in 224, 2024, that was like the most. I think I probably look my best in my entire life, to be honest, and I would also say that with me being an individual that is natural, without a doubt, um, I take nothing, and I'm super duper proud to represent that, like really, really, you know what I'm saying? And this ain't about comparing me to those who aren't natural, whatever the case. I mean, you know, a lot of those topics and conversations, you know, are very popular in terms of who's natural, who's not, this, that, and the third. But one thing I can say for sure for me is that I represent me being super duper proud in that sense, due to I work extremely hard to have the results that I have achieved thus far. And what I was getting at is that I want to get back to a space where, and even better than in 2024, where I know I was more cut up. You know what I'm saying? My aesthetics were more pronounced. But the thing about it too is that, from my experience and what it is that I know to be, being that I am natural, is that my body fluctuates. So some days, you know, my aesthetics and my physique is looking better than certain times throughout, you know, different moments or what have you. Like, that's just me. But everybody's body is different. And I say that to say, like, that's just something I notice in myself. That's just me being honest again with, you know, what it is I know myself to be in that sense, you know. Peace, FBA, what's happening? You know, so I could have that dialogue now, fam, you know. I was saying it was a little difficult, you know, being able to chop it up, you know, while the live is while I'm actually working out and all that, you know. So yeah. But like I was saying, super duper, you know, proud of myself that, again, keeping off that 30 pounds, and just, even with, just overall, you know, the excitement, the enthusiasm, with same thing, same, you know, meaning. Um, it only increases each workout. Looking forward to the progress, to become better, to become stronger. It's again, it just only increases, you know what I'm saying, to a great degree. And like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and with the workouts in the cold weather, you know. So it's just really me bringing to the camera what it is I enjoy doing, what I love doing, and you know, being able to share it. Just really, really, you know what I'm saying? And and also representing what it is that we could put ourselves in the space, in the position of enjoyment while being in a so-called climate of discomfort. And that's why I make mention of these things where it's like, you know, the gym is open, you know, at those times when I'm outside, you know, like, and I go to the gym, you know what I'm saying? I enjoy the gym. No, I don't knock the gym. I love the gym, you know what I'm saying? But I love the outside more, you know? So I'm just going to be talking a little bit about some fitness things real quick, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, so um, any questions or, you know, feedback, and, you know, we could chop it up real quick or whatever the case may be. But I just wanted to share a little bit. So I said enough about the weight situation. I don't really want to lose no more weight, but I want to do is increase my muscle mass. I want to become more cut up and, you know, stronger. Of course, you know, all of the above. Indeed, you know. Trying to think what else. I mean, it wasn't like it was a lot of questions like that, but one person did say, you know, how is it that I'm not cold? It is cold outside, you know, but I truly enjoy, excuse me, and get I get a thrill, you know, being within those conditions and working out. I guess it's. I mean, I can only kind of explain it in that fashion. That's just before I even started working out. I've always, like I said, since I was young, I've always been out in the elements. I always was that child that wanted to be outdoors. You know, uh, winter, summer, spring, fall, and so when it came to the working out, I was already suited in that fashion. So and it would be and not and I also want to say this too. And the reason why I mention that when I go back that far and saying my childhood is every time like it's a nostalgic feeling. You know, it's a nostalgic feeling. So you know, it's again an excitement and to be in such a vibe, especially at my age, and still wanna and have such a desire, you know, such an appetite, a hunger, you know, to be in the elements and work out as such, and then it's like, and then after it's all said and done, the workout is complete, you know, and then you know I have that downtime. You know, I earned that meal. I earned the warmth. I earned the comfort. You know, it's like a spirit of earning, if you will. You know, um, that's one of the ways I could describe it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know that's what I get. You know, from working out in the cold climates. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, like I said, like you know, it's touching that cold steel. on that pull-up bar and that dip bar, and grasping it, and you know what I'm saying, and your body responding, and you know, it's tell you, man. And then doing the push-ups on that cold concrete, and then the excitement, the thrill of being unfazed by the elements. So it's like a warrior spirit, just a, you know, like I gotta explain it in such a way, you know, so those can understand what I experience when I'm in that element, you know, in that mind and that physical, you know what I'm saying? You know, so you know, yeah, and that, yeah, you know, in regards to that. But it's a beautiful feeling. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful feeling. So I wanted to. This is a question that was presented to me tonight. Was that how long I've been working out? And I've been working out since 17. And the thing about it is that for so many years of working out, right? Because I'm in my mid 40s, I deprived myself for many years. When I say deprive myself, because even though I worked out, I still was, you know, ripping and running, um, and very much involved with recreational, you know, use of, you know, burning it down, smoking, drinking, and all that. You know what I'm saying? I used to smoke cigarettes years ago, but I'm just saying, right? So that's what I mean by I deprive myself, because even though I did work out, and I always share this with people, is that I did the same workouts all the time, but I still loved it. I still enjoyed the feeling that I got from working out. But I always had that I always had that feeling deep down inside that I was suppressing what it is that I'm not putting forth to experience way more than I was giving myself, due to me allowing other ways of how I was living to take away from me experiencing more of fitness and the much broader aspect of what could have been applied way back then. But this is the beauty of it, is that over the course of the years, fitness has always been my go-to to get back into myself, to take a break from the very things that were the opposite of fitness. And it's very important that I share this, because it gave me an inner strength to refrain from certain things at certain points in my life that eventually, and let's just say currently now, that strength has become much stronger, to where now I am totally a different individual. You know, I've matured. You know, so. But the beauty of it is this: everything that wasn't applied back then, I'm now able to take advantage of now. You see what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of it. The beauty of that love constantly growing, because you have people, let's just say you have people that might have been at the top-notch fittest level in their life earlier on and just totally gave up. You see what I'm saying? So you have that too, right? Where people lost interest and have took full advantage early on in their life and then just let it all go, let themselves go, became overweight, just neglected. You feel me? Their that level of, you know, caring for oneself, right? So, and that's why I say I greatly appreciate that my love only increased and my value of fitness increased. And that's what I mean by, for me to refrain from the things that will only compromise, hinder, and impede on me becoming better and better within this fitness journey. You see what I'm saying? So, and that's why when people ask me that question, how long I've been working out, I have to share that part that, yes, for many years I've worked out, but for those many years, so much was not done that could have been done earlier on. And I always use this as an example. I didn't start doing burpees until like post surgery. Okay. And for those who don't know, I've had severe nerve damage due to a laceration on my arm that consisted of getting the artery replacement, skin graft, extreme nerve damage. At one point, I lost damn near 100% mobility in my hands, my fingers, my grip. So what it is that you see me do now with the pull-ups and everything, and it's a big deal. You see what I'm saying? Because at one point earlier on within that time of dealing with uncertainty, not knowing what was, you know, what life was gonna be like going forward. And I just kept pushing forward as I do to this day. And that's why I have to mention that when I'm in this time of the cold weather, it's more difficult for me to do my pull-ups because my grip isn't as strong due to the cold weather. So I'm not able to, you know, have a strong grip within my fingers. You feel what I'm saying? From the nerve damage. And so if I'm able to only get 3 pull-ups, 4 pull-ups, one thing for sure, if you really take notice and if you pay close attention, you'll see that the reps I do get are very, very strong. They're very, very clean. You know what I'm saying? So that, of course, in itself is great demonstrations of resilience. And like I always say, if I never did and do what it is that allows me to be at this point in my life to do what I'm doing, I mean, that's the proof in itself. You know what I'm saying? So talk about you know, again, resilience. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So working out for many years, like I said. Oh, this is what I was getting at too. So post surgery is when I started doing burpees. So burpees, let's just say, I just started doing those about 4 years ago. Because I've been on YouTube for like 4 years, but I've been more consistent. Because at one point I was just dropping videos here and there and stuff, but eventually I became more consistent. And but again, the point is that burpees, compared to the amount of years that I've been working out, burpees is still a new exercise, but it's not so new because if you look on my channel, if you go through my archives, I got many of burpee videos. I probably got I got a lot of burpee videos. I got a lot of burpee videos if you look in my archives. And that's an exercise that I didn't do in my 20s. I didn't do, in my 30s, prior to the surgery per se. Like, I mean, it wasn't until after the surgery. But I say that to say, so at this time in my life, and for the things that I have not applied years ago, and I can do it now, it only increases my value, my appreciation, and that's really what it is, when it comes to that, how many years I've been working out. And I always have to make mention of is that, when you see videos about guys fit over 40, fit over 50, fit over 60, this, that, and the third, like, I'm really one of those individuals, like, for real, okay, in regard to having any kind of definition like the way I do. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, there's guys that are way more ripped and all that. Listen, salute. You know what I'm saying? But one thing for sure, when I could look in the mirror and again be super proud of myself, like, yo, I truly earned what it is that I've gained thus far. You know what I'm saying? And just again staying the course with the way I eat, and that's really what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll be the one to tell anybody that what you can accomplish, even later on in your life. You know what I'm saying? A great results that you ever imagined. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Huss. What the hell? Yo, that gotta be fresh, man. Of course, you know what I'm saying? Yo, you be changing your attribute on here, man. Word. What's good? We was live. This is the post-workout live right now. You know what I'm saying? We just finished the 500 goblet squats, the polar goblet squats. You know, we was outside with it. Word. So I'm just kind of catching up with, some of the questions that I wasn't able to answer right there in the moment. Indeed, I know. You know what I'm saying? I know the fam. I'm in tune, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, y'all, and that's really what it is. So with that being said, it's like, You know, we rise up in age, you know what I'm saying? You know, you could develop like fine wine, you know, and that's what I like to represent. And then speaking of fitness, I like to represent the mobility aspect. So those shorts that I just recently posted, those were, of course, that was, I had my hair in that video, so you can see that it's a older video. But the point that I've dropped those two, because nothing has it, I have only become better. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so to do what I do right now at this point in my life, I like to represent the proof in which when you are in great shape, what it is that you could do with your body, and how being in great shape could just, it's sort of like having a brand new car every day. Like, within your own temple though, this physical vehicle. You feel what I'm saying? Like, nothing man made could compare to our makeup as a human being. You see what I'm saying? But I'm saying that to say, you know, I'll be the one to tell you, you know what I'm saying? And not just tell you, I'll show and prove that in your mid 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, you could be active like you 18 years old. Yeah. At 50, 40, 60, you could be active like you 18 years old. And the beautiful thing about the internet, whether it's me or so many other people, right? And compared to the total population of people on Earth, it's very few. But you have so many examples of people that started working out in their 50s, in their 60s, and they'll tell you the same thing. They never felt better. And they would probably, if they did have a regret, right? Not in the negative sense, but they would be, they mention if only they done it much earlier on. But to appreciate it right now, and to not have ever uh, been able to experience would be sort of, excuse me, the worst thing that could happen. Those pull-ups definitely help the lateral muscles. Definitely, yeah, them pull-up, yo, those pull-ups are the truth for sure. It's the king of back exercises. You know what I'm saying? Them pull-ups are the king of those back exercises for sure. Word. And, yo, that's my favorite exercise. I have to admit. Like, I mean, it's to pull up your own body weight is it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? And to rep it out, them pull ups, especially when you add that weight and you really got control and you clean and you feel and the thing is, when you grab that bar and you, and the strength in your hands, and it's like you can hold on to that bar forever. That's a feeling that is, it's just a priceless feeling. You know what I'm saying? It's just a priceless feeling. Facts. You know what I mean? Word. And I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I hit legs today. Um, and after I finished that, when I did finish that workout, and even during it, but even before I finished, yo, my upper body was screaming. You know what I'm saying? For attention. My upper body was screaming for attention. But I had to ignore it because I wanted to focus on the legs. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to focus on them goblet squats. Word. Did 8 reps with 45 pounds added on my new mutant metal dip bar. Crazy tricep and chest builder. God bless, brother. Jesus love you. Keep up with the fitness wisdom. That's what's up. Keep up, doing what you do. I never heard of a mutant metals dip bar, but if that is a such thing, you know what I'm saying, and if you giving some genuine feedback with that what sounds like a unique piece of equipment, I'm gonna look that up too. Mutant metals dip bar. So you know I'll give feedback if that's really you know a real piece of equipment. I'm not here to doubt you, but people do enter these chats and all that, and they come with funny style vibes and all that. So I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, and you know that all. But yeah, what I'm saying. So those were some of the questions I could remember. And tonight, I had a light dinner, nothing major, nothing crazy. You feel what I'm saying? Like in terms of the my eating habits or what have you. You know what I'm saying? I don't eat a lot. I don't eat crazy. And that's another thing too. Like I keep my digestive system. I'm very considerate of my digestive system. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't pile a bunch of different foods. I'm not, and I mean it's obvious though, but you know, I don't. And another thing too, I just want to mention too, like I don't eat when I'm not hungry. You know what I mean? There's things that we could do to really, strengthen our discipline, strengthen our, ways and how we, you know, do the things that are at least for me. You feel me? Like I mean, everybody different though. Yeah. So it was just a light meal tonight. I and I'm good with that. If you'd have saw what I ate tonight after what I did, you'd be like, yo, that's all you gonna have, bro? Yeah, yeah. And see, the thing is too, what we eat and all that, when we talking about, and that's why like my skin is clear and things of that nature. Cause I don't put no, I really, again, and that's why I have to see when I tell you I'm super duper proud, it's well earned. You feel what I'm saying? It's and I say well earned and just choices. It's nothing special. If whoever implements this way of living, you're gonna get the benefits. You see what I'm saying? It's nothing special, but what makes it special is that compared to what would be the opposite if you didn't take care of yourself. You feel what I'm saying? It's kind of more prevalent in terms of the population of people than not. You feel what I'm saying? But it is very special. It's a special, especially because caring for yourself, right? It's value in life. You feel me? It goes beyond us. It's so yeah. In that sense, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know, to say the least on that. But I say that to say because of what I'm not putting in my body and stuff like that, it shows. It shows in your eyes, your gums, your teeth, your hair, your fingernails. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just about, being ripped up and stuff. Because I've seen people that have great physiques and they got a face full of acne. You know what I'm saying? No judgment, but it's like, and it could be a skin condition. Who knows? But what I'm saying is that you're gonna have a glow. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have a glow when you are doing the things right. When I used to smoke weed, my lips were much darker. We all know that. A lot of people smoke weed all the time. You see what I'm saying? Your lips is like dark. My fingertips used to be brown because I used to, you know what I'm saying, And so, you know what I'm saying? We know what, if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? But that's no longer the case with me, right? So, and that's all I'm saying, right? And I listen, one thing for sure, I'm not going on no tirade bashing people, no nothing. I'm gonna simply share and represent, just not necessarily to people, of course, right? With social media, this is an outlet to where we can share, we can offer advice. You know, it's for people that have an interest for certain types of content, which is a beautiful thing. You see what I'm saying? Because there's certain things that I watch that give me a different perspective and outlook on life and things of that nature. So not just in the fitness, like not just body wise, right? A mindset. You know what I'm saying? So, and one thing for sure, and I'm gonna say this before I get off this live, because I gotta go, right? With all that, with the exercise stuff. Most important, I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna leave this because I can't leave this part out. I gotta work on my mental. Sometimes I don't got the best attitude. You feel what I'm saying? I still have old characteristics within that push its way to the surface. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what I mean? I've gotten much better with controlling certain aspects with me, but there are times I get out of character. You see what I'm saying? There are times where I feel like, and I feel like, yeah. There are times where I, I take like 3 steps back with, you know, certain behavior characteristics and stuff like that. But I just want to make that be known because I don't come on here like no influence and all that. And anybody who be on my channel, and if you know, you know, you feel what I'm saying? That's why I always make reference to self accountability because I'm big on the shadow work. You know what I'm saying? I just want to also say this too because many years, because for half my life, right up until this point now, you know, working on myself, you know, when you are used to being a certain way for so many years, depending on what type of personality you have, it's a lot of undoing, right? It's a lot of self-assessing. It's a lot of, you know, identifying with triggers and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So I just don't want to be on here and just talking about fitness like the body thing is all that is and looking good and all that. You feel what I'm saying? This is spiritual for me, and I'm not getting religious. I'm not getting like all that. But what I'm saying is that I'm gonna share about something that helps me out a great deal, that helps me conquer sort of like that darker side, if you will. You see what I'm saying? So I can't never leave that out. You know what I'm saying? I have a past. It's a lot that I don't come on social media and talk about. And I want to say another thing too, and that's why I don't title my videos the prison workouts and all that. I can get into all that. You know what I'm saying? But that don't, I don't want that to define me. Everybody's different. I'm not saying that it's a negative thing when people, but for me personally, that narrative, that story is so, you know, it's just so much, it's saturated. You feel what I'm saying? It's like, you know, so that's why I don't even go that route. You feel what I'm saying? I've been there. You know what I mean? And then you know, but one thing I could tell you this though, right? Is that, and I'm gonna say this. I've been in society, you know what I'm saying, for almost 20 years now without getting caught up, right? And that's due to choices and stuff. But I'm gonna say this too. It's been many a moments where things could have went left, and I could have went backwards many a times. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to share that real quick. Just wanted to shed a little light on that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, for those who know, they know. Y'all know. You know what I mean? So that's why I take the approach that I take and how I present and do and say what I say and how I go about it, you know what I'm saying, with the social media. You dig? You know, so I'm gonna let y'all know that too. You know what I mean? So this is documented right now. You know, because it's so much negativity in the world. We know that. So it's not necessary for me as an individual to, you know, keep bringing up a path in which you can go anywhere and you see it all day, every day. You know what I mean? This, that, and the third with, yo, we know what time it is out there. It's no joke. It's very real. You know what I'm saying? Very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. We know what time. We know what it is. You see, you hear. You know what I mean? You've experienced. We all got to pass some way, somehow. And I'm going to tell you this too, right? See, because when we talking about the streets, if you want to talk about the streets, it's not just the hood. Once you exit your front door of your home, whether you live in the ghetto, whether you live in the so-called ghetto, or you live in the, nobody is exempt from, it can go down anywhere. It's sharks, vultures, vipers, pipe everywhere, snakes everywhere. To say the least. So that's why I say I'm about the shadow work. Because my my battle is within my perception. My, you know what I mean? It's more mental than physical. But we are up against opposing forces every day. I'm gonna leave it on that note, man. Y'all know what time it is. Let me get to bed. About to turn it. I'm gonna settle down. Gotta get up early in the morning. You feel what I'm saying? I'm feeling fantastic though, and I value life. You know what I mean? I used to flirt with the very things that you don't even know to have. You heard? Speaking of shadow work, have you seen the movie Street Fighter 4, The Ties That Bind? It's about Ryu trying to master the dark Hadu within himself, which is like shadow work. It's it's straight awesome. I'm gonna look into that. No man, I'm gonna look into that. Thank you for sharing that. I haven't seen that though. Speaking of Street Fighter though, I will say this though. Yo, that was like the only video game that I favored besides like Mario Brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like when Nintendo, but yeah, I remember when Street Fighter, first of all, it was the arcade game first, and then when it came to Super Nintendo. You feel what I'm saying? I'm taking you way back. That was my favorite video game. I like Street Fighter. It was two. I like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, but I like Street Fighter more. You know what I'm saying? But being that you brought that up, I'm gonna look into that though. Word. But yeah, so with Street Fighter, then you could put the code in on Street Fighter and then make it like the Super Street Fighter, like the arcade, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, Street Fighter's, that's the truth though, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up. Street Fighter 4. It's a movie. All right, I'm gonna look that up though. The game is more than a fighting game. It's like, all right, but bet, say that. Say that. I'm gonna look that up too. That's a fact. Word up. I'm gonna look that up when I get a chance to. You know what I mean? Believe me, you tell me something, I'm gonna remember. It's like this too. And speaking of that, when we talking about fitness too, before I get off the slide, I'm gonna say this. It's about keeping. It's more about the mind, right? I'm a sharp individual, right? I say that because if you tell me something today, and if you tell me, I'll remember. If you tell me something today, I'll remember 10 years from now. So that person better say it the same way. If I tell you a story if I tell you something about me or my past today, I'm going to tell you it the same exact way 10 years from now, because the truth is the truth. I just wanted to say that in terms of being sharp and really, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I'm gonna check that out though, word. But yeah, the shadow work though. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm that's what, I have a broad perspective. I again, you know, there are many a times I have to reel myself back in. I have to take a step back. I gotta, reassess and all that. And last week it was a challenging week for me within. Um, I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. I deal with real life, and but one thing for sure, I don't run from me being able to admit when I need to check myself. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so I appreciate that about me, you know? So when we're talking about fitness, I have to make mention that it's a mental first. It helps me out. It helps me regroup. When I'm not in the best of mood, when I'm in a great mood, it's my go-to. It always has been. Like I said, when I was younger, I've always had points in my life where I was able to take a take a step back and give myself, you know, a couple of months to just sort of isolate, work out, and even though I return back into, I'm saying, that realm of the streets and what have you and all that, but fitness was just my way of sort of centering myself as best that I can, even though I was like immersed in a certain you know way in which you know where I was at that time, and yeah, but the shadow work for sure, that's legit and needed in the world for positive change. Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing too. Speaking of positive change, uh, I you know I can't change the world, right? And of course, right, not. But I, as an individual, wherever I'm present, have the responsibility for me to conduct myself in the way that I know is best. So if we're talking about, if one considers themselves, and this is where I get really, so I'm very hard on myself, right? Let me say this too. And I say that in the sense of, when I was young, I would self sabotage. It's a lot. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, we all go through different um, stages, right? But again, right now, in the current point of my life, like I'm saying, is that if one considers themselves an intelligent person, somebody with wisdom, such as myself, right? And I may not be the most educated, and I'm not, you know, I'm not taking anything away from myself. But what I'm saying is that when I have moments of when that person that I don't like about me gets the best of me, I it bothers me. It really does. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. You know, and let me tell you why I say that, because I appreciate that I have a conscience. You know, some people don't got no conscience. You know what I mean? That's why, and that's what makes the world dangerous. You don't want a problem with somebody who doesn't have anything to lose. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to have a problem with somebody who doesn't have anything to lose. So, again, so what I'm saying is the shadow work. And it's not simple, it's not easy, it's worth it. And we have to constantly feed what it is that could further allow us to grow stronger and to strengthen our character, and that requires reading, education, um, people, places, things, all that, right? I'm gonna say this, right? It's like this too. I'm gonna say this, right? And I'm not coming from a, see, because you can learn something in any circle of life, right? But I'm gonna say this. That's why that serenity prayer, and I'm not talking about recovery, right? I'm not getting into that. But God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's just a universal. See, again, it goes back to me, in a sense, the shadow work. Accept the things I cannot change, right? So if I'm in public and I'm dealing with somebody with an attitude, those things we can't control. You can't control how a person think, how they move, their choices. We can't control the person, right? You have to accept that. All right, cool. That's what it is. I let that go. I'm not even investing energy in that. The courage to change the things I can. The courage is to, do you have the courage to cut ties with certain people? Do you have the courage to say no? Do you have the courage to take risk, healthy risk? Do you have the courage to step outside of your comfort zone, right? And the wisdom to know the difference, discernment. Because whether you're in a good mood, a bad mood, it still requires a high level of discernment. I'm gonna leave it at that. Learn that prayer in AA. I hear that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd be like, so it's a real thing. You feel me? It's real, you know? So, yeah, I appreciate you. This bro be dropping balls. I appreciate you, you know. But again, I had to go there tonight, y'all, because okay, that's that, no doubt. That's what's up. That's what's up. And that's a good thing that you said that, FBA. That's the screenshot on my home screen savior. That's good. And that's why it's good. And that's what I want to start doing. I say it and I haven't. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't implemented, like, just writing things down. And I've heard it many a times when people say that, whether it's goals, we need reminders, right? We need to remind ourselves. We need to stay connected. You see what I'm saying? So we don't lead ourselves astray. You know what I'm saying? And that's when the people, places, and things come into effect, because it can start to grow on us. It can start to make us become more lax, things of that nature. But I'm going to say this though. Again, I had to go there tonight because talking about all this fitness, but the mental, right? When we're not in the gym, when we're not in the park, when we're in real life dealing with society, dealing with energy, dealing with real life, making a living. It ain't no, you know what I'm saying? But life is beautiful, y'all. That's what I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna keep it on that. Life is beautiful. And you remind yourself every day, life is beautiful. You heard? Facts. That prayer helped out a lot. I tried to control every aspect about everything, and that's not how life goes. It's a fact. You know, but it's a lot that we can't control with our decisions. So we have to not lose sight that we possess a lot of power. Even when you don't feel your 100% self, even if you don't feel your strongest, even if you feel vulnerable at times within. Nobody may know it, but you know, these are real things that go on within. We're not gonna, right? But you still could be strong. You see what I'm saying? I seen a quote. It said, even if your lips quiver, still have the courage to say no. It was something in that sense. You know what I'm saying? But yo, let me get up out of here, y'all. Yo, it was a beautiful build. Again, I had to go there tonight because when we talking about the fitness and all, yeah, that's it's a beautiful thing. But it's more beautiful when we have our sanity, when we have a sound mind, when we have our dome straight. And sometimes I be having to straighten out my dome, y'all. For sure. But I tell you one thing for sure is that I recognize, and I'm not running away from what it is I need to acknowledge, correct, and I'm not going outside of me, meaning to any substance to help me cope. I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Peace. Yo, I'm out of here. So for anybody who didn't catch this live right at the start, you know what I'm saying, you could play it back. And yo, peace. You already know. You know, you could play the live back and you know, we're gonna have dialogue, you know, going, you know how we do, straight up. But we're gonna talk about the mental fitness as well. So I had to incorporate that tonight because without a strong mind, you know, you won't be in bad shape. For sure. Y'all have a phenomenal night, blessed night, powerful night. Much gratitude to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. Salute. Catch you on the next go around. Peace.